Mike, thanks for joining us, man. How's things going?
It's going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything's good, man.
That's good. I love the room. See, I see other people, I see lots of rooms, doing this. Like you got your lots of books, is this like your jam room in your house? Or is this
No,
like the man
it's
cave?
my library.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so good. Man, mine's just filled with action figures and nerd shit.
yeah, same here.
Yeah. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. But hey man, I told my wife that I was gonna be having a chat with you, and she goes, that's the guy who did the Taylor Swift cover. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm cool in my household. Yeah, like
Yeah, there's things like that. Like I've been doing this for, what, 30, 40 years at this point, been on the won like 30 Modern Drummer Awards, whatever. That doesn't matter. The things that are my claim to fame are the Taylor Swift video, the Hello Kitty video. It's things like that that are my claim to fame.
it's funny, hey, because I'm like, it's Mike Portnoy. Like one of the greatest drummers ever. And she's like, the Taylor Swift. I'm like, God damn it. But that's all right.
That's okay. My claim to fame now.
You need to get Taylor Swift to do like As I Am or something. Octavarium, like switch it up.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, the new Dream Theater album, Parasomnia, is out on February 7, and man, this record is so good.
Oh,
It's so
thanks.
amazing.
Thank you.
It's your first since Black Clouds and Silver Linings. How was it getting back into writing mode with the guys after your time away?
Yeah, it's almost 15 years between sessions and honestly it felt like no time had passed. It felt so natural that we didn't even have to like really talk about anything. We didn't discuss any direction. We just started playing and naturally it all just fell out of us. And every once in a while we'd look around and be like, pinch each other like, are we really back together? Is this really happening? But for the most part, it was just incredibly natural feeling.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of emotion floating around, when the fight
Yeah, absolutely.
was that, how would you describe that feeling?
Well, I mean, for me, it's way deeper than just rejoining a band. It's reuniting with my family. This band was started when three of us were teenagers in college 40 years ago, and we've been through everything together. Everything from our meeting our wives and getting married to having our kids growing up, going off to college, and funerals of loved ones that have passed through the years. So it's more than just being in a band. It's we've lived a few lifetimes together, and because of that, it's we're family, we're brothers.
Absolutely. I think that's something that some people don't understand with bands. There's something that it's a bit of an unsaid thing. There's a connection through the music. It connects people on a much deeper level, and instead of just your workmate or your it's there's a connection there that it can be quite emotional when those things happen. And you get back together, and it's amazing for us fans. We're so stoked to
Well,
hear
thank
you
you.
playing again, man. It's fucking awesome. Like I'm
Thank
not gonna
you.
lie, like you know, um, you know, was it when you did the last Liquid Tension experiment album? Did that help bridge the creativity as well?
I think it did. It's funny because I pointed this out in another interview that the Liquid Tension 2 album that we did
Mm.
back in 1999, that was very important in Jordan Rudess joining Dream Theater. That album was kind of the bridge that brought Jordan into Dream Theater. And I think similarly, the third LTE album was very much the bridge that brought me back to Dream Theater. So in both cases, those last two LTE albums played important roles in Dream Theater history. But yeah, I think once we made that album together back in 2020, we realized how great the chemistry is between us and how important it is. And it was also doing John Petrucci's tour uh, in 2022 that also really played a part in it. You know, John and I were able to see the audience reaction to the two of us being back together again, and we were able to feel that chemistry between us live on stage each and every night. So yeah, I think, you know, it was a bunch of these baby steps that brought us here. And I think in each one of those cases, you know, they cemented our feelings of how important the chemistry is between us.
Do you feel like you guys are stronger now as mates?
Absolutely. I think we're just much older and wiser at this point. When I left the band back in 2010, I was in my early 40s. And now here I am, I'm in my late 50s. All of our kids have grown up and gone off and left the houses at this point. So, you know, we're very much older and wiser, and we have all of those experiences that we had over the last decade and a half apart. You know, I went and did dozens and dozens of albums with dozens of different bands, and these guys have had all the experiences they had together without me.
Mm.
So coming back together, I think we're much stronger people. We're just more mature, older, wiser, calmer. I think we're just better people at this point.
And it shows through the album too. Like
That's great.
it's a strong, strong album. I think it's gonna be probably album of the year for a lot of
Well,
people.
thank you. I mean, you could definitely feel the energy, and I've said this in other interviews as well. I find it similar to the energy we had with Images and Words and with Scenes from Memory. In both of those cases, we were making records with a new lineup. You know,
Hmm.
Images and Words was the first album with Jaymes in the band, and Scenes from Memory was the first album with Jordan in the band. And there was a definite spirit to the chemistry in both of those cases, and I think it's a very similar energy to the spirit of this album. You know, just really being energized by the lineup change. It really just made us. It really inspired us to rise to the occasion.
And you know the record's got so many twists and turns. Like it's that you can never go into a Dream Theater album and go, "This is exactly what it's going to be," because you don't know where it's going to go, and that's what's exciting about your records. Like there's ones I'm trying to, I was going back trying to pinpoint what part it was. There's a bit that sounds like Flight of the Bumblebee on acid, and
Mm.
I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
I can't find
that's
it.
during the guitar solo of Night Terror. Oh, there's a lot of moments like that for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's nuts.
Those are our LTE moments, really. Anytime we go into those instrumental passages like that.
It's so crazy, man. I love it. Are there any other parts on the record where, you know, you might be looking at playing them live that you haven't yet and going, "Oh, this is gonna really push me."
Yeah, there's a few moments in the big epic track, the Shadow Man incident. Uh, there's one section that comes early on in the song, only a few minutes in, where it's almost like a Star Wars theme, but we're playing like a military snare pattern that's looping, and it's incredibly complicated the way these snare patterns are looping and creating this very, very complex um, sequence. And I'm definitely dreading having to memorize those patterns live. It's one thing to come up with these like very clever patterns in the studio when you could really concentrate and nail it, but to have to play those things like that each and every night on stage is definitely a challenge.
But then if you mess it up, people will just go, "Oh man, he was riffing. He was just, you know, he's just going off the feel."
Yeah, you play something wrong once, it's fucking up. You play it twice, then it's jazz.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And I love the title and you know the concepts behind the record, you know, exploring sleep nightmares and the dark aspects of that. Especially like the paranormal sort of side. How did that come about?
John Petrucci suggested the subject matter. It was the very first conversation we had with me coming back in the band. One of the things we inevitably started talking about was plans for a new album because we already had that on the calendar. That was already going to happen even before me coming back in the band. So we already knew the first step back would be working in the studio. And he suggested this subject matter as a jumping off point, and we all really thought it was a good idea. It's a natural for subject matter given the name of the band is Dream Theater.
Hmm.
It just seemed like a natural. So yeah, we dove into it. And then I was the one that suggested, hey, why don't we make it a concept album where themes can interweave from song to song and come in and, be foreshadowed or be reprised. And to me, I love making records that way, making concept albums. It's such a great way of writing where you can have an open palette that crosses over the course of an entire album and rather than just a specific song.
Absolutely. That's the thing I love about you guys. You know, I would love to see a big, the wall type movie based on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was the intention. We started once we started piecing it together and adding all the cinematic qualities like the sound effects and the spoken word bits and the movie samples. It was written to be listened to from start to finish. I mean, you could pull out any of these tracks as singles like Night Terror or Midnight Messiah. They work as individual tracks, but really the way we want this to be listened to is as a 70-minute piece of work, like listening to a concept album like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon or watching a movie or reading a book, that's the way it's meant to be digested.
Absolutely. See, that's why I stayed away from the singles until I got the album so I could listen to it in full. Because
Great.
I don't know. Like I wanted to experience it from start to finish in the way.
That's the intention. I mean, these songs work as singles, but to me, singles and videos are just like commercials to get
Yes.
you to watch to listen to the real thing, to watch, the way a sneak preview or a preview for a movie is just a coming attraction to get you to watch the whole thing, really.
Absolutely. That's right. That's right. In reference to the paranormal side of things, have you ever experienced anything on the road that's made you sort of question reality or anything like that?
Hmm. Not me personally, no. Uh, you know, Life on the road is strange enough as it is, and you spend all your time together, trapped in a bus or in an airplane or sitting in sitting together in dressing rooms. But usually when I'm sleeping on tour, I'm trapped in this little coffin-sized bunk on a bus, and there's not much room for sleepwalking or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine. But of course, this year marks the 40th anniversary of the band and 20th of Octavarium, which is it's crazy. You've been
Yeah.
touring, celebrating that milestone of 40 years. How's that been? Does it feel
It's
like
been incredible. We did a full European leg so far, and we did a full South American leg so far. And each and every show, the emotions have just been incredible. I mean, on one hand, there's a big celebration of the reunion of this lineup,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of people in the audience that haven't seen this lineup together in so long, or there's a lot of people in the audience that weren't even born when this lineup last played together. So there's a lot of people in the audience that never saw this lineup together. So for that reason alone, there's a lot of emotions in the air, but also the celebration of 40 years and you know this incredible discography of songs and music to work with and choose from when putting together the set list. But I put together a set list that I think really celebrates um, you know, the full spectrum of the band's career. There's a cross section of fan favorites and deep cuts as well. So I think it's a show that the fans have really been loving.
must be cool also because you mentioned, people that weren't born yet. You're probably seeing their like dads and stuff out there with their kids on their shoulders that are
Yeah.
looking at you playing. They got their little sticks or something, and it's like that you're guiding them into
Ah,
musical glory one day. You know what I mean? Do you see that?
yeah. It's always inspiring to see the younger generation of kids coming out and you see it all the time online. Even after we put out Night Terror as the first single on this album. Like the next day, there were all these cover videos of kids covering them on guitar or drums or whatever. So yeah, it's inspiring to see the younger generation how they embrace this band and this kind of music.
And talking about that, I mean, your son is also an incredible drummer. Like,
He is. He's an incredible musician all around. I mean, he's been playing drums for Code Orange now for a few years, but he has his band Tala as well, in which he writes all of the music, and he's now even playing bass in Tala as well as drums. So yeah, Max is quite the talent. I couldn't be prouder of him.
yeah, you need to tell him get him down here to Australia.
I know. I'm sure he'd love to.
Yeah, because I'm a big Code Orange fan, especially. Like, and then when I heard he was playing, I was like, oh, so that's cool. That's really cool. Do you jam with him at all? Do you guys get together and jam?
Yeah, we used to. And when he was younger, I have these mammoth drum kits in the house that are you could fit two people together side by side at them. So yeah, we used to play together a lot when he was a kid, and he learned a lot from, touring with me ever since he was born. He was a little kid growing up on the road and sitting behind the drums at these shows. So yeah, that inevitably inspired him for sure. But I got to give a lot of credit to him and his drum teacher. He did go to a drum teacher all the years that I was on the road and I wasn't home and able to be here with him every day. So he learned a lot, and like I said, it's beyond the drums. He's a great bass player now these days, and he writes all the music for Tala. So yeah, he's incredibly talented.
And talking about that mammoth kit, you put a new kit together for Dream Theater, didn't you? Like a new big one.
Yeah, the new touring kit for the 40th anniversary tour. It's a mammoth monster.
Where do you look? Where do you even start? Do you get like a? Do you have to draw it out like a IKEA? Like you go. Like, where do you even start?
It's
Know where everything goes.
I always say there's two things you could tell about me from these massive drum sets. One is that A, I'm not paying for the gear, and B, I'm not the one putting it together. Because if I was, I'd be playing a three-piece kit.
Yeah. Do you, how do you even do that? Do you just give your drum tech, you go, here's the diagram, here's a map, here's where this goes, and if this goes here, like, do they ever
There's
like?
been there's been a couple of the kits my drum tech and I just went to the Tama factory for a couple of days and just built the kits there just to have access to everything. Yeah, my drum tech's been with me for over 30 years and he's awesome.
When are they going to invent a drum kit where it's in a big case, you just hit a button and it just folds out like a Jetson? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I know there are some drummers that keep the drum kits intact and they just wheel
hmm.
the riser right into the truck. I know that's something my tech would love to have someday. So I know that's something he would love to have. But he's great. He could get the whole thing up and down like within an hour or so
What a legend.
each.
What a
Yeah.
legend. But man, $1 million question now. Australia, we're gonna see you down here soon.
It is the $1 million question. I mean, I haven't been down there in about 8 years or so. The last time I was there, I think, was for my Shattered Fortress tour, which was playing Dream Theater material. But it's been a while for me, and I know it's been a while for the band. We're patiently waiting the invite, so we got to get those promoters down there to step up and get us down there. We it's long overdue at this point.
Absolutely, man. Like I remember, well, let's see, I think it was River Stage. River Stage in Brisbane. And man, I think that was the first time that you guys had been here. And man, it was incredible. It was incredible because I'd known Dream Theater heads for years that were just waiting patiently. And when it happened, it was nuts. So,
Yeah, the first two times I was in Australia was without Dream Theater.
hmm,
I did a clinic tour there in '96, and then I think I did a tour there with G3 with Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and John Petrucci. So my first two times in Australia were even before Dream Theater were. So yeah, it's definitely overdue to get us back down there for sure.
absolutely, man. I'll be waiting. That's for sure. But hey, man, in the meantime, we're going to have all the links down here and on the website. Brother, I hope you enjoy your day and kick ass work on the new album, my man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.